Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, is Seattle reverting to original form already after the World Cup? And where the hell is Mitch McConnell? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
What do we know as Americans from every action movie we've ever seen? You don't negotiate with terrorists. Or do we? Well, here's why I ask that question. Today, during the NATO summit, which is in Turkey, which funds terrorism, President Trump said the ceasefire with Iran is effectively over, and we're back to striking them after they've been targeting ships in the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. has been launching massive strikes against Iran. President Trump and Marco Rubio were talking about how great the deal is with Lebanon, and yet they're about to make peace with this guy in Syria who's a member of Al-Qaeda. This leaves a lot of people's heads spinning, wondering what exactly is going on here. So let me break it down for you piece by piece by piece. The leader of Syria right now is a guy named Ahmed al-Shara. Ahmed al-Shara was a member of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, fighting against the U.S. before being imprisoned from 2006 to 2011. What happened was, when all these countries attacked Israel on October 7th and 8th, one of them was Syria. Syria's leader, Bashar al-Assad, was backed by Iran. As Iran's resources began to get depleted, Assad was not able to fight back against the own internal civil war. And Israel, and the U.S., and everything else that was coming their way, and the regime collapsed. The rebels took control of Syria, and the leader of the rebels is Ahmed al-Shara, who was a member of Al-Qaeda. Now, President Trump was meeting with this guy today and talking about rolling back some of the restrictions on this guy today. This is what the president said.
We are working together. We were, right from the beginning, we were responsible, along with, actually, President Erdogan also felt very strongly. And he's done a really fantastic job as president. He's unified the country in a very short period of time. I'd say like a year and a half, about a year and a half. And right from the beginning, it was a real mess. It was a very disjointed place, and he's brought it together. He's a strong person. He's a great leader. He's respected by everybody, including me. And we're proud to have him together. We're just here to talk a little bit. We released sanctions from the country, which really, I think, was a big boost. Sanctions was a very important thing. And we're proud of the job he's doing. Syria's become a very stable, I mean, it's amazing. In a short period of time, it's really been stabilized. And we're proud of that. And it's a big part of the Middle East. Syria had one of the great cultures, the professors and lawyers and doctors. It had one of the great cultures of any country, not just Middle East. And then it went through this terrible period of time. But it's a country that a lot of people are very proud of, and they're proud of the job he's done. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
So this is how Trump rolls. This is how he does business. When you are friendly with Trump, when you do what Trump wants, you're his best friend, and he's going to do nice things to you. Is everything better in Syria? Sort of. Sort of. There are still factions of Syria that are attacking their Druish, not Jewish, Druze community. Oh, funny, she doesn't look Jewish. The Druze community there in Syria, and Israel has to keep going into Syria to save the Druze community in Syria. Is he doing a great job? Well, I guess we should be thankful that they're not attacking U.S. forces. I guess we should be thankful that the government itself isn't attacking Israel. It's just these small little militia factions that are doing that. So I guess in the scheme of things, sure, he's doing a fine job keeping that country, that cesspool together. Now, is Syria on the right road? Yes. But this is where trust but verify comes into place. And also, Syria isn't affecting U.S. oil markets. So right now, this is a win. Plus, let's not forget, we do deals with plenty of horrible people. The NATO summit is in Turkey. They are sponsors of terror. Let's be clear about this for a minute. Why we even let them be in NATO is a whole nother question. Plus, Qatar. We're friends with Qatar. They just gave us the biggest, most beautiful Air Force One you've ever seen. The greatest airplane. I love it very much. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. And the press, they get these reclining seats. They're beautiful. So we got this big, beautiful plane from Qatar. They fund terror. They fund anti-American propaganda in our schools, but we're not in a hot war with them right now. So they're our friends, and we might be able to make a deal with them. Saudi Arabia. Not the best people. You might remember this whole 9/11 thing. Might remember that. Just throw that back. And yet we're friends with them. So is this guy, al-Shara, going to be long-term leader of Syria? Well, unless he gets overthrown by some other less cozy and fuzzy militia group, we'll see. But things are on the right trajectory there. I have no problem with you saying we're pulling back the sanctions if they are performing the way they should be, and that seems to be what's happening. Now we're back to Lebanon. Lebanon, above Israel. Lebanon, we still have Israel going in and taking out Hezbollah targets. The problem with Lebanon is not the Lebanese government. The problem with Lebanon is Hezbollah launching rockets at Israel. And as long as they continue to launch rockets at Israel, Israel's going to continue to go in and take out Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. But at least the Lebanese government is saying we're going to use our military to go after Hezbollah so that way Israel can stop coming in and blowing up our country. Marco Rubio was talking about this with POTUS earlier today.
Well, I talked to Bibi about that. Yeah, I think they're going to. I think they want to. I don't think it's a question of me. I think it's a question they want to. And they're getting along with Lebanon. They're signing deals with Lebanon. First time ever. Marco, talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah, we have an agreement that, and it calls, that's the goal at the end. Obviously, Israel's concerned about their security. But the president did a great job bringing those two countries together for the first time
It's a big thing. First time in many years, right? So we have a deal with Israel and Lebanon. And, yeah, they'll leave. And I think it's going to work out very well.
Well, we hope it works out. Hezbollah is not part of this negotiating. Who is part of their negotiating team? Iran. And that leads us back to the main issue, which is what's been happening over the last 48 hours. So Iran decided to start attacking ships. It attacked a ship from Saudi Arabia. It attacked a ship from Qatar, which is just suicidal at this point. They buy weapons from us. They buy fighter planes from us. And they are currently on America's good side. And you're going to start attacking them? Because don't forget, all of these different tribes, Sunni, Shia, you name it, all in the Middle East, they all hate each other. If Israel wasn't there, they'd all be killing each other. If America wasn't there, they'd all be killing each other. In fact, when Israel and America are there, they're still killing each other. So you've got them all at war with each other. Iran said, now's a good time to pick a fight with the Arab world. Oh, and they decide to also attack a ship out of the UK. Let's pick a fight with Europe, too. So what they're trying to do is say, well, they're not U.S. ships. What are you going to do about it, Trump? So what happened? This is what J.D. Vance said earlier today is going to be the response.
We will sit down at the table and negotiate and see if the smart people in that system can take over from the crazy people. Well, here's the basic deal that we cut. The basic deal that we cut was we'll lift our blockade if you stop shooting at ships. But if you shoot at ships, we are going to punch back, and we're going to punch back harder than ever before. That was the deal. They said they would stop shooting at ships. And what happened 24 hours ago? They started shooting at ships again. Now, they were good. They were well behaved for about a week. but then they started shooting at ships. So the deal is very simple. If they shoot at ships, we're going to knock the hell out of them, and it's that simple, and that's the basic way it's going to work.
I know a lot of people are tired of talking about Iran. A lot of people are saying, Ari, I'm tired of all this Middle East stuff. Can we just finish the job or get out? I have these conversations with people all the time. Believe me, I totally understand it. I'm for finishing the job. The problem is, you think to yourself, why aren't we just saying, okay, the entire ceasefire is over and we're done and we're just going to move on from there? Well, actually, that's kind of what the president said a little bit earlier today.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
Okay. So President Trump says it's over. He doesn't believe these guys are negotiating in good faith. He said it is over. They're cuckoo. He also called them loco. I love all the words the president is using today to describe the Iranian regime. Cuckoo, loco, I agree. Let's use all that. So if that's the case, then let's go back to bombing the hell out of them, which just happened a little bit earlier, right before the show went on air. There are massive strikes at ports in Iran right now as we speak. A lot of people are saying just take Karg Island, cut off their energy. They had enough chances. Either that or do it the Israel style and eliminate their leadership until you get to somebody who is willing to actually negotiate like the dude in Syria. But can you actually do that with a genocidal, homicidal, jihadi regime? The answer is probably no. So what does that mean? American boots on the ground? I hope not. What should happen now is the U.S. should say to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE and Bahrain and Morocco and say, we have the Abraham Accords for a reason. We will give you the oil. You give us a cut of it because we did most of the heavy lifting here. We will give you air support. You guys go in and get it. You guys want that oil? Go in and get it. You sell it for a price. You don't undercut U.S. oil. We'll make deals on that. You guys send in the boots on the ground. We'll provide the air support. Enough is enough. And I hope that's what we're actually heading towards. We cannot count on Europe at all. At the NATO summit, was there some good news? Yeah, you got Zelensky sitting right there. Wait, Vladimir Zelensky's still a thing? I forgot about that dude. I forgot this whole Russia-Ukraine thing is even still going on anymore. So President Trump was there and saying, hey guys, we're helping out Ukraine. Where's Europe? What are you guys going to do to help Europe? What are you guys going to do to protect yourselves? The reason you're all worried about Ukraine is because if Russia takes Ukraine, it's heading through the rest of Europe, and they don't really want to be the USSR again, some of those countries. And other ones don't want to become new members. So what can we do about it? Here's what the president said.
Last year's summit in the Netherlands was great also, and we achieved an unprecedented agreement to increase the annual defense spending. And it's the benchmark, raising it from 2% to 5% of GDP, which everybody said was impossible. And now they're all thanking me, and most of the countries have agreed to it. We have a couple of that didn't, but I have a feeling they're going to, and pretty quickly. In fact, today they were very positive. One of them in particular was, I didn't think, a good team player. Today was a great team player. As all of the leaders understand very well, the United States remains by far the largest contributor to NATO, monetarily and maybe otherwise, and the strongest military anywhere in the world. And they respect us as a country. Again, they didn't respect us 2 years ago. They laughed at us. NATO laughed at us. Everybody laughed at us. They don't laugh anymore. There's no more laughing.
No, they really don't. But at the same time, they're not really helping. A British ship was attacked. European ships have been attacked by Iran. Where is Europe helping out in the Middle East? The president actually called out Spain for how terrible they've been to deal with.
And I want to thank Mark. He's been a great Secretary General of NATO. I'm not happy with NATO because of what they did with Greenland. And I'm not happy with NATO because of the fact that they didn't want to help us with the number one state sponsor of terror. That's Iran. They were unwilling to help us. Now, in all fairness, I didn't speak to Mark about it. I think if I did, it might have been different. But we didn't need help. But I was really testing. I wanted to see whether or not they'd be there. And the answer is they were. I spoke to Germany. I spoke to France. Spoke to UK. Spoke to Italy. I didn't speak to Spain. Spain is a wasted cause. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it off. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. Okay, we don't want anything to do. Watch them come running back. Oh, they'll come running back. They treat this man terribly, and this man's a good man too, great man. They're lucky they have him. But Spain doesn't agree to anything, and you shouldn't carry him. I mean, you sort of automatically carry because you're protecting an area, so they're there. So they probably figure they have to protect us, right? But we don't have to, and we don't have to trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them.
So that's Spain. And with regards to Spain, I don't know if you've been seeing the marches in their streets calling for the deaths of Jews and deaths to America. Oh, how 1492 of you guys. Nobody expects the Inquisition because it's so retro of you guys to be back to your roots from, the Dark Ages. Well done, guys. Or was that the Middle Ages? I have to go back and revisit that. This is all very, very complicated stuff, but it comes down to a very, very simple question. If your oil, if your resources are being attacked as they are on the way, why do you just say, America, America, come help us? Why don't you step up and help yourselves? Because in Europe, they have like 3-day work weeks now. They have all these socialized programs which are destroying their economies, and they don't have the money to spend on defense anymore, so they call us. Come help us, America. It's like my buddy I mentioned earlier in this week, who was meeting all these people on 4th of July in Washington, D.C. And when he met Europeans, he would just say, did we kick your ass or did we save your ass? That's what he would say to every single one of them, which was just great. And also, he's 6'9" tall. So him saying that is even funnier. But the idea here is the entire world is reliant on us. Some of you may not like that, but that is the deal when you are the standard bearers for freedom. So what President Trump is trying to do is get Europe to step up. He got them to step up with Ukraine. I'm not sure they fully understand the threat they have, or maybe they do. Because of unchecked immigration in Europe, they have been flooded with jihadis. And my theory is they are concerned about attacking Iran because they are worried about terror cells being activated in their own countries, and they don't have the kind of resources that the U.S. does to stop these. I get press releases every single day from basically every branch of government, and I love reading them because I get to see what the FBI stopped, and I get to see what Department of Homeland Security stopped, and I get to see what ICE stopped. There are so many stories that don't make it on air. I think I got 20 press releases today. I'm not talking about any of them today, but I get to see the government's doing its job. In these other countries, they are worried about these terror cells attacking them, and I think that's why they're afraid to go head-to-head with Iran. Because of unchecked immigration across Europe, you have seen jihadis take over the UK, take over Spain, take over all these other countries, and they are desperately afraid of a terrorist attack. So as usual, it's going to come down to us. What do you guys say? Go in, finish the job, no American boots on the ground, tell the UAE, tell Bahrain, tell Morocco, tell the Emirates, tell the Saudis, and tell everybody else, you guys send the boots in on the ground, we'll give you air cover. I think that's a pretty fair deal. You guys like that, or you want to do something else, or you just want to walk away, you let me know. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up is I fully support your deal. I think it's only right we provide the air support as well as the Middle Eastern countries. And then they can go in and take over Iran and cut a deal here. I also appreciate President Trump raising our gas prices as a transit advocate. I really want to thank the president for our brave military for raising our gas prices.
Joe, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you a nice red hat. I'm going to get you a MAGA hat, Joe, okay? We're going to get you a MAGA hat. You're going to start wearing that because you seem to align so much with President Trump these days. How does that sound to you?
No. Actually, I have my own MAGA saying. It's called Make Air Shows Glorious and Glamorous Again and have women flying our air shows again because they're so hot when they fly airplanes. And that's kind of my version of MAGA. And don't we...
Joe,
and I'm real friendly with two of them who used to fly in our air shows in Vail.
hang on. We don't need to hear about that on air, Joe. You keep that on over to yourself, buddy. But I love when you call. I love when you're part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let's bring things back a little bit closer to home. When we come back, is Seattle already reverting after the World Cup? Shootings, stabbings, overdoses. Yep, there's no place like home. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. I love that intro. I'm so sad to see it go. I really like that one. I got an email today by one of these dating apps that was sending out a press release. I kid you not. This is what it said. People report that dating availability has increased 86% in the last month in Seattle. Gee, why do you think that is? You think there's more options that came to town? This is really one of the dumbest, absolutely dumbest press releases I have ever. Oh, well, there's a lot more people in town. Oh, there's a lot more people to date. A lot more people who don't identify as the opposite gender. Wow, look at that. Isn't that incredible?
What qualifies as a dating site or a dating service too? Because I think it's less dating.
Yes.
And more hookups.
Well, this one said they were a dating site. Now, mind you, I've been out of the game for 23 wonderful years.
Same.
So I couldn't tell you even what this is, and I'm not going to Google it because then if it pops up in my search history, the wife's going to have questions, and this is all kinds of bad news, right? But I got this press release from this company I've never heard of before about the dating pool increasing. And actually, last night kind of summed this up for me, Kevin. So it was my anniversary last night. And the wife and I went out.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. 23 wonderful years. Yes, I got married at 22. Yes, do that math, everybody. Anywho, so we go out for anniversary last night, and we're at an establishment getting drinks, and we're waiting for our table. And as we're waiting for our table, I don't know what was walking past me, man. I have no idea. And in the dating world here, that's going to limit your options, especially when the trendy hangout place is Capitol Hill, which is where we were last night, right? You know what you're going to get in Capitol Hill: confusion. So now all these people come into town. Oh, wow, look at all these people. I agree with you, Kevin, that I don't think it was dating. I think it was something else because these seem to be short-term relationships. That's more what this seems like. But it seems like now that's all gone. What's the press release going to say next month? 86% drop in availability? You're going to say Seattle's now the worst place for dating after an 86% drop. No, it was temporary. Everything was temporary. In fact, it seems like the media very quickly reverted to form. So I was taking screenshots of the front page of our local media outlets, how it was all World Cup, World Cup, World Cup, every angle you could possibly examine. What's the food like? What's the dating scene like? What's this like? What's that like? Nothing else to cover. And as I predicted, they left out all the crime. Well, now that the World Cup is over, guess what they're covering again? All right, if it bleeds, it leads. According to Como News, Seattle police respond to 3 separate shootings over the span of a few hours overnight, leaving 6 people injured, including one man who was critically wounded. The first shooting happened around 10:15 p.m. in the 500 block of South Lander Street near the Sodo Light Rail Station. For those of you who don't know our area very well, that is one stop away from the Stadium Station. That's the area they supposedly cleaned out for the World Cup. Investigators say the gunman believes someone had stolen his property, got off the bus, fired multiple rounds into the rear of the bus, striking a 39-year-old man sitting in the back 3 times. Sounds like one of our unsheltered neighbors. About 3 hours later, officers responded to a large house party on Swift Avenue South in Georgetown. You mean where you pushed everything for the World Cup? Where 4 teenagers, ages 16 to 18, were shot and taken to the hospital. Como News crew at the scene saw multiple bullet holes in the home, with one round piercing a neighbor's car. The parent of one teenager who was at the party declined to speak on camera, but told Como News the home is an Airbnb. Officers then responded to a shooting around 3:17 a.m. at an encampment near South Walker Street and 24th Avenue South in Beacon Hill, another area where they pushed all the homeless people, all the drug addicts from the area. Excellent. Well done. 3 shootings. Oh, wait, guys, that's not all that's coming back. It's not just the crime. Traffic's about to come back, too. You guys know that this whole thing was paused for the World Cup, all the construction on I-5? Kevin, it's like a switch was thrown today when I was driving in.
Insane.
Insane. And it wasn't supposed to start till Friday. So what changed?
Well, for me, I know that they started doing some construction, like basically the exit to Denny, which I go with like Google Maps. I say, hey, take me to work or whatever. And it was sending me 99.
Yeah.
And it has been doing that ever since they shut down the express lanes that were going south because they were working on the normal lanes going north. But those have been opened up since the World Cup. So I was like, this thing's not sending me the right way. So I took the express lanes. Boy, was that a mistake.
Uh-huh.
I got down to the downtown exits. It was a mess.
Yes, I had a similar experience. Coming from the other way where there isn't even the construction. So what happens? I've got the car, the Dodge Charger that I have for my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. And that one I don't have hooked up to my toll account because it's not my plates. It's the dealership plates.
Good to go pass.
Right, exactly. So what happens? I see all red on I-5. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just drive in the HOV lane like I do all the time. I'll be perfectly fine because it wanted me to take 99 and take the toll. What a mistake. What a colossal mistake. My commute here, I think, took close to an hour, where normally that's a 35-minute shot, right? That's how bad it was.
So mine lately has been what it normally is when there's no traffic, like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then if there's some traffic, it's like 30, but it was 45 minutes today. I had a meeting at 10. I got here at 10:15.
So I popped into that meeting you were here for. I heard it was called for 10:30. I got here at 10:45 because I planned on missing the first part of that meeting, but whatever.
But I sat just getting off of the freeway and going through downtown. I sat there for 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I sat in I-5. Then I sat in Seneca exit before realizing how bad it was. Skipped over to the Mercer exit, and that was terrible. Everything's terrible.
So you did the opposite of what I did. The Seneca one was shut down to 2 lanes because they're working on a building there.
I saw that.
And so they had a crane there, and they shut down 2 lanes.
Yeah.
So you know how that stupid stuff works. The express lane and the normal lanes get off at the exact same area, and everyone is trying to merge to get over on Denny.
Yeah, we have a terribly designed city.
Ridiculous.
It's so stupid. But anywho, so the crime's back. Traffic's back. Addicts are back. Homeless is back. Welcome back to Seattle, friends.
We need the Welcome Back Cotter song.
That's
Welcome
what you
back.
need. Yeah. Good reference there, Kevin. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Is Mitch McConnell alive or dead? There's always people who say they're talking to him. I haven't heard from the dude. I mean, not that we're on like a first name basis. We'll give you all the details on if the Republicans are hiding him somewhere like the Democrats are hiding Joe Biden. When we come back, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So is Mitch McConnell alive or dead? I love the text I got yesterday. I won't call out a listener by name, but yesterday, one of our amazing listeners who listens every day to the show said, is Mr. KVI censoring you from talking about Mitch McConnell? No, I just don't like speculating on things.
The only time we don't say something typically is if we're going to get into a lawsuit, or if it's a and then sometimes we even still talk about
sometimes,
it.
yeah, given the amount of money I've spent on legal stuff, we still get into it. No, really, the only time we really ever don't say anything, okay?
I know what you're going to say.
Go for you? Which one do you think it is?
Trump.
No, not that one. I wasn't going to tell that
All
story.
right.
We'll do that one in a second. The only time I didn't say anything was when I think there was a story about the Salvation Army and they were sponsoring something with the show. And our old boss is like, dude, kind of tread lightly on that one. That's the only time.
Yeah, and the story, if I remember correctly, was big, but it wasn't that big. It was like if we didn't cover it, or if we didn't cover it a certain way, it really didn't matter.
It really did. Also, it wasn't our Salvation Army. It was something they did in D.C.
Correct. Yeah, that's
that
right.
didn't trickle down, and they were in the middle of like sponsoring a toy drive. And I'm like, we're getting things for kids. You know, we can lay off the Salvation Army.
There was something questionable in a Trump interview once that we were debating whether or not we leave it in, and we left it in.
Here is the kudos to Mr. KVI. For the listener who thought it was Mr. KVI who was sponsoring me, I will tell you the story from my perspective. You can correct me at any time. So what happens? We had Trump on the show. And I'm really excited. And then in the middle of the interview, Trump says that Israel used to own Congress. And I'm like, oh, God. Every anti-Semite in the world is going to say he went on a Jews show and said that Israel owned Congress. And oh my God, this is going to be played for the rest of time on white supremacist websites. This is going to be a nightmare. It's going to blow up. It's going to be huge. Huge. It'll be the biggest thing. And you actually see me blink with my reaction. So what happens? I get all freaked out because I know it's about to happen. Now, a normal person would have said, Israel enjoys bipartisan cooperation.
Yeah, you said what he said would be taken. You knew what he meant.
Yes.
He didn't mean it that way,
Right.
but you knew that it could possibly get taken and used the other way.
Exactly. So what happens? They scheduled this interview for 2:40. It's now 2:50, and I have to be on air in 10 minutes. That's when they scheduled this thing for, or whatever it is. I go running, bolting down the hall to Kevin, right? And Kevin's like, you don't censor it. He's the president of the United States. If it was Biden, you wouldn't censor it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. So I go bolting down the hall to Gary and Rick and everybody else who were our bosses at the time.
Was he even president at the time, or was he just running?
No, he wasn't even president. He wasn't even running yet. It was in between. It was like Joe Biden's first year.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
it was right then. And they're like, I don't know what to do. And Kevin goes, you don't censor the president of the United States.
I just said he said what he said.
Right.
We can't, we got to leave it in. We don't alter this stuff.
So it stayed in. We didn't change anything. That's the way we roll. We never censored it, never did anything. And to this day, you can find that up on white supremacist.
Yeah, there you go. And the other thing is, obviously, if it's going to be bad language, we censor it. We get rid of it. But like, in no way do we have a discussion about this Mitch McConnell story. And we're like with everyone else, what's going on?
Right. We just want to know. So we don't censor things on the show. We don't do that. This was like my first 3 months on air too. I'm like, what do we do? I don't know. I'm a young radio host. I don't want to lose my job. What do I do? I don't want to censor the president. Anywho. So what happens? Mitch McConnell has been MIA. He's in the hospital. And then Laurel Loomer has a kind of checkered track record. Sometimes she's very, very right. Sometimes she's very, very wrong. She comes out with this report saying that Mitch McConnell is brain dead. Now, I'm not running with that because I have no evidence to back it up. Are there pictures of him on an oxygen machine in a hospital? If so, I haven't seen them. I reached out to a few people in D.C. They are just as confused as the rest of us. Personally, if this is like the movie Dave, where he's down in a bunker, hooked up to a whole bunch of machines as a vegetable, I think it might be time to find a new senator. Maybe. Just a thought. But what's ticking me off are these posts all over social media, and now they're getting parodied. This one here. I spoke to my old friend Mitch McConnell this morning, the senior senator from Kentucky. He's still recovering in the hospital. We talked for just shy of 20 minutes about Iran, Ukraine, the unfolding situation in Maine, my visit to the presidential library, and even a little bit about Senate history. I told him we want to see him back at work as soon as possible. Lovely. But just like we did with Joe Biden, oh, he's so sharp behind the scenes? Then why don't you show me how sharp he is in front of the camera. Look, dude had a stroke or something. I get he wants a little privacy. Give me some proof of what, hey, Mitch McConnell, I'm saying hi from the hospital, and I'll be back at work soon, right? Like, you get something like that out of him.
And I hate this, but there's been speculation about his health for some time now with like bruises on his hand. Remember, he had the purple lips for a while.
Remember, he froze for a while. He collapsed multiple times.
Yeah.
He froze more times after that. Dude is not well. Republicans, be better than this. You can't bash Joe Biden and then hide Mitch McConnell. Or maybe it's Mitch McConnell hiding Mitch McConnell. Or maybe it's his wife hiding him. I don't know. Anyway, we go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from our friend Keith. Keith, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm going to change the subject a little bit, just back to what you talked about before your break on all the bad things that are back in Seattle, the homeless, the drugs, the violence. There's one thing that did change.
What's that?
They turned off all the cameras.
Well, wait a second. Hang on, Keith. Let's be fair about this. They only turned off the cameras around the stadium, so all the other cameras are still on, which is Mayor Fivehead, trying to be like, see, activists, I did what you want, but I know there's going to be crime everywhere else, so we actually need those cameras because socialism and communism and Marxism doesn't actually work, and we don't have enough police officers, and Katie Wilson's being hit right in the giant forehead with the reality of what is actually happening with crime prevention, and she wants another term. So she's managed to piss off all her activist buddies. She's managed to piss off everybody on our side of the aisle. She's got no friends left. And actually, didn't they turn those cameras off before the World Cup? It was about turning them back on, Keith?
I think they turned them off, I read, right after the last game.
Right, but they were off before the World Cup. You remember we did segment after segment after segment.
They were off. They turned them on just for the World Cup and turned them off right after the game.
So then, Keith, you're supporting my point. We're back to status quo. We're back to status quo.
Absolutely. You were reading my sarcasm.
Keith, I love the humor today. Appreciate the entertainment. Thanks for being part of the show. Drive safely. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, I've been skeptical about this trans refugee crisis that's coming to Seattle. Well, a new activist group was out with numbers, and I'm still skeptical about this. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Do you remember a few weeks ago that Katie Wilson was dealing with some activists who came to her and said, there's a trans refugee crisis. You have to help us. We need to fund people. We need to fund housing and jobs and food for all the trans refugees that are coming to Seattle. And people like me immediately called BS. In fact, I wrote an op-ed for the New York Post calling BS on it. I said, if there's a trans refugee crisis, where are the numbers for it? Haven't seen anything for it. Capitol Hill looks exactly the same as Capitol Hill does. Seattle hasn't changed that much. And let's be clear about something. That light rail looking pretty sparse. Pretty sparse. The baristas at the Starbucks I go to, they do not fit the type of what you are talking about. But now they got to keep up the grift. So what happens is they're being called out and made fun of and mocked nationally for this self-made crisis. And now the Washington Post is helping them out. So this person named Casey Parks over at the Washington Post talks about a person named Crow Harmony. I'm guessing that's not your given name. Who never felt at ease living in Florida as a transgender guy. Oh, you misgender the person. Oh, no. The state has some of the most restrictive anti-LGBTQ plus laws in the country. No, their laws are you can't do trans surgeries to kids. Those are their laws. That's about it. And then Harmony said he struggled to find employers willing to hire trans people. That's illegal. If that's actually happening, you have a civil rights case. Go pursue it. Said they were just 21 or 20 with no money and no job prospects. So Harmony reached out to a Seattle nonprofit for help getting out of Florida. Kevin, you know I have a son who's overseas, and I have another son who's overseas, and I got a daughter who's overseas right now. I got all these kids out of the house right now. One of them is almost 22, and guess who they still call for help from mom and dad, right? So why aren't you calling your parents for help? So now the Seattle taxpayer has to help you out. So now there's a trans-led organization called Traction, which claim they help 1,500 trans people flee red states. Okay. Is there a trans underground railroad happening here? Come down to the basement. We'll give you hair dye and a job with Starbucks and send you along the trans underground railroad to Seattle. I don't believe these numbers for a second. I don't. Because I went to their website. I went to this group's website. First of all, this organization looks like they popped up in rather short order when they heard there might be government funding available. Second of all, it's amazing how much political stuff they have endorsing Democrats and supporting Democrats and supporting every other activist cause. So the Washington Post, in the process of trying to debunk my narrative that this isn't happening, actually helps support my narrative, where it is a grift to get money from Seattle taxpayers to fund another nonprofit that will accomplish nothing aside from taking your tax dollars. This is insane. And then the Seattle Times took this, syndicated it, reprinted it. This is nonsense. Tell you what, this organization Traction, tell me your numbers. Show me your numbers. I'll reach out. I'll ask for your numbers. Would love to see them so I can see them for myself.
Isn't it in that piece? Because
the numbers are here. I want to see the data.
Oh, the data.
I want to see the actual data.
And sorry if I'm busy in here cutting things up, but did you say the numbers that they've given, right? It's like an increase of like...
They said 1,500 people.
That's right.
More than 20 times the 70 people it aided in the 18 months before the election.
The thing that... Okay, your company apparently isn't robust to handle that many people, but does that make it a refugee crisis? You're a business that does offer a service.
Yes.
And yes, the numbers have gone up quite a bit, it looks like. Again, if we trust what they're saying. But at the end of the day, it's 1,500 people.
It's not a lot of people. You're not settling tens of thousands of people from Afghanistan. What are we talking about here? And also, it's not like they're disabled and can't work. Set them up with jobs. I have a question. How many of these people are runaways? How many of these people ran away from home and are here because of 5599, where now they're doing the surgeries or whatever else? I want to know if now we're funding this insanity, which we knew would be a problem. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Up next, why are our officials so resistant to letting the feds see our voter rolls? You may think you know the answer. I'm not sure you actually do. I'll give it to you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, King County officials decide to double down, triple down, quadruple down on 20 years of failed homeless policy. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right, my friends. It is your chance to win a trip to New York City or $3,000 of cold, hard cash. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text Ari, happy anniversary. You used to have more hair. I saw that picture you posted, Hoffman. Okay, I'm a little sensitive about the hair. I can deal with the fat jokes. The hair jokes hurt a little bit, people. It's okay. Anywho, I love you all. It's still very nice of you to wish me a happy anniversary. Thank you all very, very much. So you text the word I give you to the number I give you, just the word, just text it once, and you only have 30 minutes to do so, my friends. Today's word is fifth, but you have to spell it out. F-I-F-T-H. Text the word fifth, as in Fifth Avenue in New York City. Text the word fifth to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Thank you to our in-house Pink Floyd cover band for showing up to give us the right mood music for that. Don't forget, you only have until 4:30 to text that word in. If you do it later, all you do is overwhelm my text line, and I can't see what you people are sending on over to me. Speaking of the text line, by the way, Mike says if people are trying to flee Florida, just go to South Beach. If the trans people are trying to flee, just go to South Beach. Easier commute. I saw that movie, The Birdcage. Yeah, just go to South Beach. You'll be a lot happier. Here's another question I got regarding that, circling back to that last story about that. You don't have the right to live wherever you want. Technically, you do, but you have to have the money to live wherever you want. Why do I live where I live? Because my house was cheap and it was near the synagogue. That's why I live where I live.
There's another thing this reminds me of. Our good friend, former host, Kirby, worked with Conservative Move for a while.
Yeah.
And they would help you relocate to a red state. They weren't going to pay for it for you.
No. All they're doing is saying, here's a broker that will find you a nice church and a nice school and help you get to Texas. Did Conservative Move ever ask for money from Turd Ferguson or Katie Wilson? No, you want to move somewhere, then make a few bucks, ask mom and dad, and you go somewhere. Look, to buy my first house, I was 23 years old. My in-laws were kind enough to help us out. That's what parents do for kids. So all you refugees, and I'm using the giant air quotes on the refugees, guess what? I don't know when this switch got flipped, that a barista is a lifelong career. It's not. Oh, they need a living wage. It is a job for a college kid. It is a job for a high school kid. It is a job for a graduate student. It is not a lifelong career. In Starbucks, you climb up the ladder they promote from within. You are not supposed to be a barista 30 years from now. That's not your long-term goal. If you just want to make coffee the rest of your life, there are ways to do that, but don't expect to get paid a lot of money. So when you come out to Seattle, one of the most expensive cities in the U.S., why do we have to subsidize your lifestyle? Hey, you know what? Hang on. We're going to do this. We have a Jewish refugee crisis. Massive Jewish refugee crisis. The Jewish neighborhood, too expensive. Too expensive. So I want money. I want money from the government, or I'm going to use the space laser on you. I have the switch right here. That's right, Kevin. While you were gone, I had to grab the switch yesterday to use for a prop. I moved it into the studio. It is right here. I will use the switch. That's right. For those of you watching on Facebook, YouTube, X, and the Rumble, I have the switch in studio. It is right here, right now. It's not plugged into anything, though I think it can be plugged into stuff. We're going to have to examine this later. Maybe I should make this the on-air switch in the studio. It's a real deal. Look at that. Look at that. It's the real thing. All right. Anywho, back to other news around here. Well, if you want to afford a house around here, good news. Prices are dropping on houses because there's a massive amount of inventory as people are looking to leave Washington State. Tell me again about the refugee crisis. So the housing prices are going down. Look, you don't need government help. You just wait long enough, and then you'll be okay. Median sale price fell from $985,000. Hang on a second. Can we reflect on that for a second? That the median sale price is $985,000, nearly $50,000 down from May. Hey, wait a second. Hang on. If they want to make things more affordable here by screwing up our state enough, they did a hell of a job. Look at this. You're losing equity in your home. Wait a second. I'm losing equity in my home. Sale prices. This isn't good news. This is 5% down from last June. Man, this is going to be really, really bad for everybody because if more people keep leaving, I know in my neighborhood, I've never seen this many for sale signs. I know it's spring, summer, and that's the time of year where people sell houses. I have never seen this many signs. There's this one street I drive on, boom, 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 3 right next to each other. Never seen that before. Thank you to the Democrats. You talk about a refugee problem. I think they should fund the people who need to flee Washington because of their bad policies. How about that? Can I get a little bit of my tax money back? Perhaps, maybe. Somebody, can I get a little bit of that? There's also this new report released by the National Federation of Independent Businesses that the small business climate here in Washington is significantly underperforming in the rest of the U.S. Well, do you think that's because small businesses rely on big businesses, and when the big businesses leave, the small businesses start having problems? Do you think maybe that's part of the problem? Do you think maybe the theft and the vandalism and everything else small business owners have to deal with is part of the problem? I think so. In fact, according to a new study by home security company Vivint, Washington is seeing more overnight burglaries than anywhere else in the country. 2 of our cities took 2 of the 5 top spots nationally. Seattle is the most at-risk major city in the U.S. for nighttime home break-ins. Spokane is the 3rd highest. Woo! Woo! Yeah, we're number 1 again. Wait. That's a really, really bad thing. Seattle had 234.6 break-ins per 100,000 residents, while Spokane reported 182.1 break-ins per 100,000 residents. Wow, we're almost double that. Excellent. Cleveland, Ohio comes in number 2 for those of you who are concerned. Wait, where are the safest places? Frisco, Texas. Gilbert, Arizona. Nice. Gee, I wonder why people are moving to Texas and Arizona. Yeah, can't imagine why businesses are suffering. Can't imagine why people are selling their houses. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Frank in Burien. Frank, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Hey, I had to celebrate for a second because, you said the house values are going down. Does that mean our property taxes are going to go down too?
Oh, silly Frank. That doesn't happen. Property taxes only go one direction unless you live in Florida where they're trying to get rid of property taxes.
But they're trying to do that in Idaho now too.
Yeah. Gee, I can't imagine why people are moving to Idaho or Florida. Yeah, that's a head scratcher. Frank, do you have any theories? Why people might be moving?
It could be because we've got a 5-finger forehead commie that wants to raise taxes, and we've got sideshow boob Turd Ferguson that likes raising taxes, and we've got a Marxist legislature that doesn't know anything else but to raise taxes. I know we got the people of Seattle who can't, they've got this theory that vote blue no matter who, and I'm thoroughly convinced that you could put Hitler up there on the stage and put a D behind his name, and every Marxist, socialist, every resident of Capitol Hill and downtown, and then all the homeless people that they get to vote will vote for him regardless of what he stands for.
Wait a second, Frank. You're just talking crazy now. You're saying if the Democrats put up a guy with a Nazi SS tattoo, that the Democrats would actually vote for that guy in a primary? Maybe even a general election?
Hey, he didn't know the Nazi tattoo. He just spent time in Europe and got it in Europe. He didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo.
Right. He's a student. He's a student of World War II, he claims, and he had no idea. No idea it was a Nazi tattoo. No clue. No clue.
I studied World War II history, more with the Pacific side than the European side, but even I knew what that was.
Yeah.
You know, the little symbol behind underneath the SS hats.
Yes. You know? Yes, we've seen it in the movies before. Did he never play? Wait a second. He's my age, Frank. Did he never play Castle Wolfenstein? I mean, come on. We all played Castle Wolfenstein. That's Escape from Castle. It's a great game. It's a great game. All right, Frank. We can be friends now. You played Castle Wolfenstein also. Appreciate the humor. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Switching gears over to something happening closer to home. Attorney General Nick Brown is very, very mad that the feds want to see our voting rolls. Well, if you have nothing to hide, why not let the DOJ look at our voting roll? I know. Call me crazy. But maybe there's some shenanigans? So our friends over at RNC Research found this clip. This is Beto O'Rourke's organization discussing how they target people to vote. Give a listen and tell me if you think this is suspicious.
So, like Beto mentioned before, we go where the people are. We're trying to find likely Democratic voters, those that are targets of voter suppression, likely to be removed or purged from the rolls come November. We go in places where those people are. So,
Whoa. There are two ways to hear what you just heard. Shall we run that one more time? There's the way to hear it of we're getting people who haven't voted in a while, like a Scott Pressler who goes and registers the Amish who never voted before. Or there's if it's mail-in balloting and we can get those mail-in ballots of these people who haven't voted in a while, maybe that's what we should do. Here, give one more listen to it and tell me which one you think. I'm going to let it run its course this time.
So, like Beto mentioned before, we go where the people are. We're trying to find likely Democratic voters, those that are targets of voter suppression, likely to be removed or purged from the rolls come November. We go in places where those people are. So whether it's college campuses, in places of worship, at concerts, clubs, drag shows, the World Cup's going on. We've been doing a lot of World Cup watch parties.
Whoa, hang on. I know I said I was going to let that run to the end. College campuses. Are most of those people residents of the state they're going to the college of? I'm sure some of them are, but there's a lot of other transplants. Kevin, I joked about registering people at the World Cup because there were so many freedom-loving Americans. This is a huge missed opportunity for the GOP. If there's no voter ID, we should have registered everybody who came in for Team America. And you know what we should have done? We should have put up a sign. Want to make Seattle red again? Register here to vote. We should have done that and said, just register with the bar's address. Register with your address wherever you came from. They will mail it to you. They will actually mail it to you. My son's friends in Israel are getting ballots, and they haven't lived here in years. People I know who moved out of Seattle are still getting ballots. They haven't lived here in years. So, yeah, just register with whatever your current address is. We will get you registered to vote. No problem. Nick Brown is all mad that the feds want to look at our voter rolls. He says, more blatant lies and threats from Trump's DOJ, the core ethical values of honesty and professionalism that once guided the Department of Justice are simply gone. Oh, you're right. What we should really do, we should use the Department of Justice the way it was intended, to declare people who oppose radical curriculum as domestic terrorists, right? That's what it should be used for. Yes, it's tried and true purpose of going after anybody who disagrees. Oh, wait, that was what Joe Biden was doing because Jill Biden, her teacher union buddies, asked her to do it? They've gutted the VRA, sued to limit vote by mail. Yeah, Exactly. And now trying to bully state officials, but that hasn't worked before and it won't work now. We'll keep fighting back. Signed, Nick Brown. Interesting. VP had something to say about this today.
There's, of course, this big debate about how much election fraud happens in the United States of America. You guys know my views. We're not going to settle this here. First of all, any election fraud is too much election fraud in the world's greatest and oldest constitutional republic. And number two, if Democrats want us to stop talking about election fraud, I make them a simple deal. Pass the Save America Act and get voter ID, and we'll stop talking about election fraud. We are the only advanced democracy anywhere in the entire world that doesn't require you to show a photo ID to vote. It's simple. Just give us election integrity laws, give us voter ID, and then we will have the confidence to say to the American people there's no cheating. But when they say, number one, we don't want voter ID, and number two, there's not that much cheating in our elections, it's natural for all of us to say, not much cheating is still way too much cheating, so stop it and give the American people voter ID. Thank you.
So you should be asking why Nick Brown doesn't want us looking at the voter rolls. Isn't sunlight the best disinfectant? If you have nothing to hide, you show them the voter rolls. And then you get to say, see, we were right and Ari Hoffman was wrong. See, we were right and the VP was wrong. We were right and Donald Trump was wrong. There's only one reason they're not showing it to everybody. They claim it's privacy. You do know that the IRS works for the feds, right? They have all your information. You do know that ICE works for the feds. They have all your information if you came here legally or illegally, assuming you've entered the system at any point in time. They have all your information. In fact, anytime I want to go to the White House, you know what they ask for? You know what they ask for? Photo ID. They also ask for my social security number. I'm surprised they don't ask for a urine sample. Okay, they need all this stuff to get me in the door. You need that. You need a form of ID anywhere you go these days, except to vote. Then you don't need the thing. Well, it's because they want to keep the grift going, not just in voting, but in other areas as well. Here's what the Veep said.
I cannot tell you whether the state of Wisconsin has illegal aliens who are ineligible who are receiving food stamp benefits paid for by your tax dollars. And the reason why I don't know the answer is because the governor of this state will not give us the data that allows us to say, well, this person is eligible, this person is a legal alien, scratch them off the list.
Oh, it's not just about the voting. It's about the fraud. It's about the benefits as well. You catching on now? You understand it? And think about all the kids, disadvantaged people, who could be benefiting from Medicare and Medicaid, but instead it's going to illegal aliens. Think about all the people who could be benefiting from this. Instead, these programs are going bust because of how much fraud there is. Yet another reason why we need to verify who gets these rights, who gets these benefits, who's an American citizen, who's not an American citizen. There's only one reason the Democrats want to keep the grift going is because they want to stay in power. There is no other explanation. Up next, my friends, lots more to discuss, including how Washington teachers are fighting for the income tax. And they're already spinning their sob stories. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. When I interviewed the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools, Ben Schuldener, the new one that they hired, I went down to their main headquarters on 4th Avenue South in SoDo. It's a big, beautiful building where not a single kid is being taught. And one of my questions was, why are we spending so much money on all the staff in this place? And he actually has been working to reduce the staff in there, so kudos to him. He's been working on safety and security. But the Seattle Times is really mad at him. And I am laughing at the reason why. The Seattle Times had a whole article. What are they mad about? Okay, he's in SoDo. So the Seattle Public Schools contacted the city's Unified Care team to put the giant concrete blocks around the Seattle Public School headquarters to keep away the RVs and the tents, just like all the other businesses do. So we've gone from, let's just follow this trajectory for a second. We have gone from the city officials going, don't do that. Don't do that. That's bad. It could be a traffic violation. It's a parking. We're going to fine you. I remember getting those notices from the city. I'm like, I don't know who put those there. You put those there. You city people, you put those there. To now, the Seattle Public Schools is actually dropping the giant concrete barricades to keep away the homeless RVs because guess what? They're in the same bad neighborhood. Oh, that's just delicious. Absolutely delicious. That's just great. Now, meanwhile, we know that the teachers' unions, including the Washington Education Association, are now saying, we have their new talking points, right? So now the fight over the income tax really begins because now we got all the signatures. The signatures have been accepted. The income tax, the repeal of the income tax is going to be on the ballot in November, thanks to our friends over at Let's Go Washington and all the volunteers. So now the fight begins. We have the new talking points from the teachers' union, which is pushing this. Listen to this report from Como News, and you're going to hear the talking point.
New at 6 on Olympia Watch, opponents of the state's new millionaires tax have taken another step forward in putting the future of the tax in the hands of voters this November. Como's Claire Weber is live from the Secretary of State's office where thousands of signatures in favor of repealing that tax were just turned in. Claire?
Yeah, Kelly, today was the deadline for Let's Go Washington and a coalition of voters to submit their petition signatures. If the necessary number is met, a measure asking voters if they want to repeal the tax will be on the ballot in November. By the truckload, Let's Go Washington stacks boxes outside the Secretary of State's office, carrying the signatures of voters they say are against the millionaires tax.
When you go out and you talk to over 500,000 people, you hear their voices and you hear what they're saying.
Brian Haywood says he heard concerns of being forced out of Washington by a tax he claims is only to cover a spending problem in Olympia.
It's become this catalyst for people that are saying, when is it going to stop? Like, they could take all of everybody's money and it still wouldn't be enough to pay for what they want to pay for.
It's the state's first income tax at a 9.9% rate for any earners making more than $1 million a year. Supporters estimate it'll generate roughly $3.5 billion annually to help fund health care, human services, small business relief, and more.
This is truly a historic step forward on rebalancing our tax code.
With K-12 education set to receive the biggest chunk of revenue, the state's Education Association president is slamming this push to repeal the tax, which he says would take away school funding and free lunches.
Can you imagine being so greedy that you want more kids to go hungry so that you can have $11 million a year instead of $10 million a year?
Okay, stop right there. You see what they're doing? You see what it is? So they have a massive spending problem. So what they did is now they said, well, all the funding from this is going to the school lunches. Okay, can we be real about the school lunches for a second? 75% of school lunches are paid for by the feds. By the feds. So you don't need the funding for that. But by attaching these things to the income tax, you now get to claim on your voter's guide and all your talking points, oh, it's for the children. They're not going to have enough food to eat. And that's what they're going to claim. That's what they are going to be claiming now. And you can see it as clear as day. No, they have a spending problem. For example, I got quoted in Town Hall today. Town Hall is a conservative outlet. And they were talking about people who went to the Great American State Fair to represent their booths when the elected officials chose not to attend to boycott President Trump and to protest President Trump. So you have Denny Heck, the lieutenant governor, and Turd Ferguson saying, we don't have the money to go to this thing. We can't spend the money. You have $5 million for trans surgeries for convicted felons in prison. You have the money for that. You know, maybe that could pay for some school lunches. Maybe that could pay for a few other things. No, this is why they want their income tax, and they want it badly. So they will claim, oh, it's going to cut Medicaid and Medicare. You know, the Democrats have been cutting Medicaid and Medicare here in the state long before the income tax because they're out of control spending. They just figure we'll do more and more taxing. Turd Ferguson signed the largest tax increase in state history. Now they're going to use this nonsense claiming it's going to the schools. Hey, maybe, if the schools were performing better, then not as many parents would have left and you wouldn't have lost your government funding. Maybe, just maybe. Call me crazy. It's called cause and effect. It's also called FAFO. Up next, my friends, the homelessness crisis is only getting worse after years of misspent money, mismanagement of resources. When we come back, somebody who warned about this over 10 years ago is still sounding the alarm and telling us about the fraud they have uncovered. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. looking at the numbers for what we're spending on homelessness, which we all know isn't homelessness, and the return we are getting for our dollars, it is nothing but an unmitigated disaster. How you go from having 2,000 homeless people in King County to over 16,000 homeless people in King County after spending billions of dollars shows it's an absolute disaster. Now, some people have been calling this out for even longer than I have. Joining us now to discuss on the KVI studio line, former state senator Mark Miloscia. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Harry. I appreciate being on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, something I really respect and admire about you is that you tried part of this. You said this isn't working. We need to do something different. And that was 10 years ago, and nobody wanted to hear it.
That's right. And in fact, I first started this 20 years ago when I was chair of the Housing Committee in the House, and I was a Democrat at the time. I was the newly appointed chair of the Housing Committee, and I decided I wanted to reduce homelessness, figure out what's going on, what's working and not working, and come up with a plan to reduce it. And I had this fantastic bill, emphasis on accountability, counting who the homeless are, getting them all identified by name, and then coming up with basically an individual treatment plan and put the responsibility on local governments, hold them accountable for reducing the number, not just giving them money every year and expecting no change in the results. That was the plan back in 2005. And I actually tried it again, updated when I switched to the Senate 10 years after that in 2015, when I was the vice chair of the Human Service and Homeless Committee in the Senate as a Republican state senator.
So you tried all this, you tried having the accountability, and where did it go wrong? Because it seems like now the new model is just, let's throw as much money at it, let's keep the people we have employed and not accomplish anything.
That's right. Well, this has been the MO really for 20 years. I had the bill all drafted. We're going to have the hearing on the House floor with all the accountability, the audits, the metrics, the mandated, every county has to reduce it within 10 years or they lose money. And the speaker ambushed me and came out with a bill and just surprised me on the day of the vote and says, take it or leave it. You're going to have optional accountability. We're just going to give money and trust that the local governments are going to do the right thing. And we're not going to count the homeless. We're not going to identify them by name because there was a lot of fraud going on with homeless, going to one shelter, coming in with a name at another shelter, and just not getting any results. And from that time, I learned that there really is kind of a deep state in the nonprofit world, sort of like a homeless industrial complex, I guess is the current fad for calling it. But there's a group of folks who just want the money and just they get credit for increasing the number of meals given or the number of homeless housed, but not for actually reducing it. The more homeless there are, the more money they get. So that was what I learned. And the ultimate reason why this happened is a lack of integrity or morality or even a religious desire to solve a problem. I'm reminded of President Adams' great quote, one of our early president, John Adams. He said, for our Constitution to work, it is only able to work with a moral or religious people, wholly inadequate for any kind. So if you have the local governments who are corrupt, they don't care about data, they don't care about solving the problem, you have that kind of internal corruption, then you're never going to get results in any problem you're trying to solve. So that was the lesson I learned what happened when both attempts I tried to solve the problem in the House and the Senate. And I never could get past the advocates. And the advocates is who I blame a lot. The Union Gospel Mission was, I guess, one of the exceptions of folks who actually wanted to reduce homelessness. But every other player, every other nonprofit, they said, just give me the money and go away and we'll do what we do. So that's how the system works.
That sounds almost exactly like what we just saw with the King County Regional Homeless Authority, where you have all these allegations of fraud. Then you have the auditor's report come out saying that there's millions of dollars that's gone missing, not misspent, missing. And there could be misspent as well. We don't know because there's no internal controls. It's just like what you're describing. We're talking with former state senator Mark Miloscia. What kind of fraud did you see while you're in the state Senate? What kind of stuff are you seeing now? Is it the same grift that's going on?
Well, it's more united. There were many honest players in the nonprofit world 20 years ago, but less so 10 years ago, and now there's none. They've all become woke. this whole idea that we should enable folks if they're hooked on drugs, yeah, that's their choice. We should just support them in what they want to do. That kind of viewpoint of enabling bad behavior, criminal behavior, and even more important, self-destructive behavior, and thinking you're going to save a problem is delusional. And too many of our leaders know that this doesn't work, know that we're just funneling money for corrupt institutions, and they don't care. They literally don't care. And the media enables them. You know the mainstream media as well as I do. It's like they just give them a pass. It is pure corruption, and I can't get the discussion going of let's fix this problem. That's what it is. The folks in the system are corrupt. And if the folks in the system are corrupt, the results are going to be corrupt.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's just unfortunate at this point because it was all a giant I told you so from people like you, from people like me who are a little bit later to this fight. And it's something that nothing's going to change. I mean, while people are dying on the street, while the grift continues. Former State Senator Mark Miloscia, thank you so much for joining us today. And please keep getting the word out because I think it's having an impact when people see what you're saying. They hear what you're saying and they say this has been going on that long, especially people who are new to the fight. I think it's very, very helpful for them.
And I appreciate you making a big deal about these issues today.
Thank you very much. We got a whole lot more to discuss. As the show continues, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to head on over to KVI.com, sign up to become a KVI Insider. That way you get all the information on all the contests, all the special events, and we're actually working on a special event right now for August, so we will give you more details on that. Speaking of events, I am going to be out at the Bremerton Air Show this Sunday. KVI is going to be out there on Saturday and Sunday. I think Mr. KVI is going to be out there on Saturday. I will be out there on Sunday. I don't know when, if young Zach is coming, but I will for sure be out there on Sunday. And we will have a great time out at the Bremerton Air Show. Will be lots of fun.
I think maybe young Zach is out there the same time I am.
I think it's Saturday. I think
and
that's
we're
when he's
going to
going.
shut it down. I think.
He wasn't sure yesterday, so we'll ask him tomorrow and find out when he's going to be out there. But yes, I will be out there on Sunday. And if you want the same kind of flags I was giving out in Washington, D.C. at the Washington booth, and the same kind of constitutions, we will be giving those out as well. So I normally don't discuss legal cases while they are ongoing. I like to read all the facts, come to a decision. We usually start discussing them when the jury has them. The trial against Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk, isn't fully underway. This is a preliminary hearing to see if the case is going to move forward. And what this has been good for is demonstrating that all the conspiracy theories are complete garbage. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all of them were wrong about literally everything. Candace Owens, one of her big claims is that Tyler Robinson was never even at the Utah Valley University campus. Well, guess what? There's video footage of him at the campus. Our friend Joe Bob from Turning Point USA is actually going to be joining us on Friday to give us a full recap of the week because they're following the case very, very closely. But this thing has been debunking every conspiracy theory and people like Candace Owens who are grifting off of the tragedy of Charlie Kirk's assassination. I can't imagine this. You say you're a good friend of Charlie Kirk. You allege you're a good friend of Charlie Kirk, and all you do is bash his widow every single day? What the hell is wrong with you? All these conspiracy theories about Israel and Egypt airplanes and exploding microphones, all of them have been debunked so far during this hearing. Let me walk you through a few things. Here's the timeline. At 8:29 a.m., Robinson is captured on video arriving at Utah Valley University in a gray Dodge Challenger. Prosecutors say this was an early scouting trip. This is on September 10th. He allegedly walks the campus, scouts the area around the Lucy Center, where Charlie Kirk would later speak. So the event gets underway around the late morning time, and that's, of course, when you see the video of Charlie Kirk coming out and throwing the hats to everybody on a beautiful sunny day. Shortly before 12:23 p.m., surveillance shown in court shows Robinson returning to the campus, moving towards the building, accessing the roof, and positioning himself above the event area. You can actually see all this there. At 12:23, a single rifle shot is fired. Kirk is struck in the neck and collapses. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about the bullet. Well, guess what? They brought out the ballistics expert. And you had the Daily Mail, by the way, blew this completely because they wanted a clickbait headline. The bullet was mangled, so they couldn't do ballistics on the bullet. And they claimed the bullet doesn't match the gun. No, that's not what it is. Not at all. Not at all. The bullet was mangled, which usually happens when you use a bullet. But they had plenty of other proof from the other bullets, from the jacket of the bullet, from the casing of the bullet. The casing was still in the gun. It wasn't ejected on the roof because with a bolt-action rifle, you need to manually eject it. Every single insane Candace Owens claim is just getting debunked time and time and time again. Video shown in court shows the suspect on the roof, shows Tyler Robinson on the roof, lowering himself down after the shooting and walking away with an object in his hand. Investigators found evidence on the roof, including what was described as impressions from a prone firing position, a screwdriver, and a line of sight to the stage. The manhunt begins. They start pulling the footage. Then, when they release the footage of this guy, who contacted the authorities? Tyler Robinson's parents, his friends, his own mother recognized him. And they called their son and got him to turn himself in So Candace Owens claiming it's not him. His own mother recognized him. It turns out apparently they might be conservatives, and they're beyond ashamed about this whole thing. Tyler Robinson has the text with his trans furry boyfriend talking about all this. He's giggling in the courtroom. Literally every single thing Candace Owens is saying is being debunked in real time. There are some great streamers who are doing an absolutely fantastic job covering the trial. One is Milk Bar TV. He did a side-by-side of Candace Owens' claims versus what they're actually saying in court.
Okay, what are we seeing here, Agent Hall?
That's the vehicle that is believed to belong to Mr. Robinson arriving in the parking garage on campus.
In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus.
All right, where does he go from there?
He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus.
The alleged shooter, you think they're a patsy?
Of course, they're a patsy. I mean, come on, it's so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day. They can't show us one clear image, not even one. All of these cameras, Turning Point has everything in 4K. So shouldn't you have caught the shooter on the roof in 4K? Like, you had cameras everywhere that day. Every inch of that campus
So do you
is
think
covered.
that was someone else that was running across?
Absolutely.
It wasn't Tyler?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you see Mr. Robinson now?
I do, yes. He's just arriving at the corner of the building. Almost the top center of the image.
I don't
Do you think
Tyler Robinson was there.
You don't think he was there?
I think he's a total patsy.
What are we seeing now?
Mr. Robinson lowering and jumping off of the roof of the Losi building onto the grass area, and then moving away towards Campus Drive.
This was so dumb. He wasn't even on campus that day.
You can see him clearly in every single one of these images. Candace Owens is chasing clicks. Tucker Carlson is chasing clicks. Megyn Kelly is chasing clicks. And they claim they were friends with Charlie Kirk. And yet they're bashing his widow. They're bashing his legacy. And they're lying for clicks. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. We'll have our final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. You can call us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI during our final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, more of the updates coming out of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and how it's going to affect your gas prices. But before we get to any of that, we go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Rob in Bellingham. Rob, what's going on?
Do you believe that Charlie was shot with Grandpa's 30-06 cartridge?
The medical examiner's report says the cause of death of Charlie's cause of death was a gunshot wound to the neck. Additionally, the bullet casings in the bolt-action rifle don't auto-eject, and the casing was found inside the rifle.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know if you've got any hunting or weapons experience, but I can guarantee you if he was shot with a 30-06 cartridge, it would have pretty much blown his whole neck into pieces, not just a little hole and blood spurting out.
Have you ever done that to a man at that distance before?
I have 3 combat tours in Vietnam, and we use the 7.62 by 51, which is a 308, which is the short version of the 30-06.
So it's not the same. It's not the same weapon from the same distance.
No, it's not. The 308 was a lighter cartridge developed off the 30-06. Next time you talk to Lars, ask him his opinion. Lars, do you think Charlie was shot in the neck with a 30-06?
So let me ask you this, Rob. Let me ask you this, Rob. What do you think killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, there's been several things out there. A self-exploding microphone. Which I
Okay,
think
stop
is
right there.
BS.
Stop right. Okay, good. So let's just debunk these one at a time. Okay, the medical examiner says it wasn't that whatsoever. There was no residue from any explosives at all. So it wasn't an exploding mic from Israel.
Yep.
What else?
No, I've read that.
Yeah,
I read that. Oh, I just know from my experience of shooting high-power weapons ever since I was pre-grade school, and I pretty much grew up with my dad's 30-06 from World War II, and I know what it does to animals and flesh. And I'm sure I'm like a lot of other people. We just don't believe that he was hit in the neck with a 30-06 cartridge.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with conspiracies.
180 grain.
Hang on a second here, Rob. Hang on a second here.
Yep.
Even if it nicked him or whatever the case may be in the artery, in the carotid artery right there, okay? Nobody has been able to provide what it actually was if it wasn't that. So whenever I say there's a conspiracy theory, and actually I have some conspiracy theories for tomorrow about other stuff that you'll actually enjoy. But what I say is if there's a conspiracy theory, you don't just have to disprove what I'm saying. You have to prove what somebody else is saying. And until somebody gives me an actual explanation of what it could be, I'm going to go with the medical examiner and the ballistics guys on this one. Because so far there's nothing to show me otherwise.
They want us to believe.
That's
yeah,
what, okay. So,
I
what do you
you.
think? Who? Right, but then tell me who did it. Who was behind it?
I can't say because I think there are too many options out there. I mean, of course, there's a bunch of controversy about Israel.
All right, let's stop with the Israel stuff here and let's do this. You literally have, hang on, Rob. You have the alleged assassin laughing in court. He's laughing in court. If somebody's being set up as a patsy, don't you think they'd be sad? Don't you think they'd be saying, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent? He's laughing.
Yeah, I haven't watched any. I haven't seen the video of it, but I'm looking forward to it. Are they even televising?
Yes. In fact, now, this has been affecting my stream all week, my video stream. There are now, as I'm looking at it, I think it just ended for the day or something. There were, up until today, multiple streams, not just on television, but Turning Point is televising the entire thing, as well as Andrew Colvett, who runs Charlie Kirk's show now. Everybody's televising every minute of this, and there was a big fight to get those cameras in the courtroom. Because they wanted to show that this guy wanted to do this publicly. We're going to show his trial publicly. So they're showing every minute of this thing. In fact, people like Brendan Tatum are there. Erica Kirk's there. You've got Andrew Colvett there. You've got a whole bunch of people from Turning Point USA streaming every minute of this thing.
Did they find the projectile?
The projectile was mangled. It was mangled. They found it. It was mangled. As I said earlier, Rob, this whole headline from the Daily Mail about it not matching the gun. No, they did a clickbaity headline, but the article itself was even talking about how it wasn't able to be identified because it was mangled. So, Rob, I'll tell you this. I'm more than happy to entertain these things and discuss these things, but you got to give me something to show that there's another side to this and what it might actually be and not the Candace Owens stuff. Do appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Oh, looks like this pushed some people's buttons. Looks like a lot of people want to weigh in on this. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Craig in Puyallup. Craig, what's going on?
Hey, listening to your show, enjoying it as usual, and I've done a fair amount of hunting with a 30-06. I've hunted in Washington and Oregon with it, and I've hunted in South Africa with it. It's hard to predict what a bullet's going to do when it hits something, whether it's skin, then bone, whether it hits organs. It's going to do different things. There's also multiple different types of bullets and bullet weights. A 30-06 bullet, I used like 150 or I think a 180 grain when I was in Africa. Because it was sizable stuff down there, but not huge what I was going after. But you can get 150 grain. You can get 220. But they're all going to behave differently. They have different tips. Some are like a hollow tip. Some have a soft tip. Some have what mine were called core lock. And military use a solid tip full metal jacket. It is a full metal jacket.
Yeah.
They tend not to deform as much because they're built not to deform as much. So it's wild to me with the amount of video there is, the amount of witnesses there are, that this is even a conversation.
I'm agreeing with you. I completely agree with you. In fact, hang on, let me give you this. I'll let you finish. 1 second, Craig. I'll let you finish. But here's the thing. You know the big conspiracy of all the video was missing from the cameras that were right there from Charlie Kirk? You know that conspiracy? Turns out all that video is in possession of the prosecutors because Turning Point USA turned over the HD video to the authorities. It's all right there. You know these conspiracies that are spinning about Charlie Kirk's security meeting with the military the day before? That guy is literally suing Candace Owens for defamation because he's got an alibi for being out of the state in Dallas at the exact same time. It's crazy to me the stuff that people are spewing here.
I guess it's the same crowd that said the Twin Towers were an inside job. They ran out of stuff to do with that. Now they've got this.
Yeah, I'll say this is like I went to the 6th Floor Museum in Dallas. Have you ever been there before, Craig? It's the book repository. Okay. So when you go there, excuse me, sorry about that. When you go there, they actually have a gun or the sniper's nest set up amongst boxes at the actual window. But you can stand right next to that at the window next to it. And if you look down on the street in Dealey Plaza, you can see the X on the ground where he was shot. And when I stood there, and this was, 5-6 years ago I went there. So when I'm standing there, I look down and I go, okay, I'm not that great of a shot. But I could make that shot, especially with something with a scope on it. I can make that shot. And anybody I know who's been there, I was discussing with some random strangers I saw. We're all discussing. We're like, that's not that hard a shot. It seems to me that when something big happens like this, some big tragedy, people can't handle that it was this trans furry person who really want to take out somebody who is larger than life than Charlie Kirk. That's what I think. I think they have trouble wrapping their heads around it.
The old saying, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras.
Exactly.
Probably what it is.
Exactly. Look, if somebody's got the evidence to show me otherwise, but Candace Owens is getting disproved in real time. Craig, appreciate the expertise. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Chris in Bonnie Lake. Chris, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy. How you doing? Hope you had a great 4th.
Thank you. You as well.
So I just want to make one question or statement to you about all this. You keep talking about the medical examiner, and because I'm assuming you think these guys are all above reproach. We never
hang on. I'm going to stop you right there. COVID. 1 second, Chris. Let me stop you right there.
Yes.
What evidence do you have that this specific medical examiner from this specific department is questionable?
I didn't say the specific medical examiner.
Okay.
I'm saying medical examiners in general. Because, Ari, did we get the truth from the medical examiner when Kennedy got shot? And how many times and from what direction?
But hang on a second here. We know what happened. No. I'm addressing your point right now. Your point right now, okay? With the limited amount of information I have studied about that, we know that there was a rush job, and we know that they were covering it up, and we know what happened with the mortuary, and we know all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing here to indicate any of that. So, Chris, what I'm going to say is the following. As I said to one of our previous callers, if there is a question, show me the evidence to disprove it, not do we trust medical examiners, because then you're calling into a question this specific guy, and we have no evidence whatsoever that there's been any funny evidence, tampering, or anything like that regarding this. In fact, the prosecutors for the case have said many times that if 90% of the evidence was thrown out, they would still have more than enough to convict this guy. So what I'm saying is, if you have an issue with Kennedy, with the medical examiner in the 1960s in Dallas, Texas, okay, I hear that. I may not agree with it, or I may agree with it, or wherever the case may be. None of that has anything to do with this case here.
I'm just saying none of them are omnipotent, and like the other callers, I had a gun business for 35 years. I am a ballistics expert. I have reloaded for 35 years, every caliber you can dream of. And like everyone has said, those of us that have done this and been in hunting and all that, when we see a statement that we know is a bold-faced lie, we have to comment.
Chris, what do you think of our last caller talking about the different types of ammo?
I agreed with him 100%.
Okay, so then couldn't it just be the type of ammo that was used as opposed to any of the other conspiracies?
No. Absolutely not, because a 125 grain to 180 grain bullet, sure, they're going to act different in long distance, obviously, but that close, they're going to all pretty much act the same once they hit him.
So then, Chris, what do you think did it?
I have no idea, but I just know a lot of the BS. I mean, look at when Trump was shot at.
No, hang on, Chris. Chris, that is not this case. Look, are there questions about that? Absolutely. How come when random people get shot, people don't come up with conspiracies? It's only famous people.
Well, because they don't go up and scrub all the evidence real quick before anybody notices.
All right, Chris, you got to come at me with actual evidence that disproves this, and then maybe I'll say, that's a point here.
You don't have to have evidence to prove that the sun is burning in the sky and somebody tells you it's
I
not.
do. I get sunburned when I go outside. It's warm on the planet, and I haven't frozen into an ice block, and it rises on one side of the world and sets on the other side of the world. So, yeah, I do have evidence of that. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Go back to the KVI studio line. Take call from Tony in Bonnie Lake. Tony, what's going on?
Ari, how entertaining. So, shortly after Kirk was shot, there was a video on showing slow motion camera that was on him when the bullet actually hit. He was wearing a bulletproof vest.
That's not what the Turning Point people said.
Well,
in fact, I have one of them calling the show on Friday. Would you like me to ask him about that?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Because the interesting thing about it is, let's not forget, this was after the Trump assassination attempt, and apparently his staff was saying to him, dude, you might want to consider using the glass, and he didn't want to use the glass.
Right. Well, if you look with scrutiny at his shirt, the impact was not in his neck; it was down closer to his collarbone, and you can see his T-shirt gets kicked up, and the person that was making the display said that the bullet actually didn't go horizontally into his neck, it went vertically into his neck, and the reason it didn't blow out the back of his neck was because it went vertically up and into his brain, and that's why it killed him, and they had no opportunity to save him.
Where did you see this? Where did you see this?
This was. I'll see if I can bring it back up.
Okay, because that actually that contradicts everything we know right now. That contradicts everything. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I haven't heard this. I haven't seen this. But
Understood.
is that giving credence to that there was a different shooter or something else?
No. That means that a 30-06 doesn't do the same thing after it ricochets off the edge of a vest and goes vertically.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So you're trying to say that the ammo or whatever it is, it's more the impact of whatever it hit.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So you're trying to explain why the bullet did a weird thing that nobody expected and why it was mangled, is what you're saying.
Correct.
I'll tell you what, Tony. On Friday, I have one of the Turning Point people coming on. I'm going to write down your question right now about the vest, and I will look into it, okay?
Perfect. I will see if I can bring that film back up.
Okay, now I will say this, Tony, okay? I'm probably going to pre-record that interview. If the person is not interested in getting that, because this is somebody who knew Charlie Kirk, you'll understand, right?
I totally understand the whole gamut of this information.
Okay. Tony, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being a good sport. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Peggy in Oak Harbor. Peggy, what's going on?
Yes, I've been watching that preliminary hearing, and, I don't believe in all these conspiracy theories. I think it's, ridiculous. I mean, there's enough evidence about Tyler Robinson, and I kind of came into the conversation not knowing how it actually started. But I think the one thing that everybody needs to remember is this young man, whether you like it or not, he was indoctrinated, radicalized, and he's showing no remorse for what he did. And this is really sad, and we need to pray for our country, and we need to pray for these people, just like Erica Kirk said, because these souls are lost, and they now think it's okay to murder somebody for political reasons, and I think we all should think about that instead of worrying about all these conspiracy theories.
I completely agree with you. Peggy, I completely agree with you. So you've been watching this thing. Did you see the judge's reaction when he saw the assassination video?
Yeah, and I'm glad I didn't see it. I remember that day just like 9/11. I was devastated. My friends were devastated. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'll tell you this is for the people that didn't see that video. I'll let you finish in a second, Peggy. For the people that didn't see the video, the judge noticeably flinches like he's seeing it for the first time. And Erica Kirk and the family left the room because, according to them, they still haven't seen the video. And I am sorry I ever did. I am sorry I ever did. And I remember when we were broadcasting that day, as we were getting those developments, I remember saying, don't share the video because it's too graphic. You don't want to do that. You don't want his family seeing it. You don't want anybody else seeing it. Go ahead, Peggy.
Well, I mean, we've lost a true patriot, and I'm sorry that he's gone. I'm glad that they'll continue the show, but my thoughts are with the family right now. And I know I'm in a better place, but I sure do miss him. Yeah. And that's all I have to say.
I completely agree, and I'll tell you this, is that my kids were all devastated. I was devastated, and my kids never met Charlie Kirk. And I only met him, I interviewed him one time in person. I was lucky enough to do that. And I only saw him in passing a few other times at Turning Point conventions, but it hit like a gut punch to so many of us. And you didn't have to know him because his words, his patriotism came through the screen, came through the videos, came through his writings, came through the show. And it was just such a massive, massive loss. And I don't know anybody who could replace somebody like that.
And he really cared about young people. He really did care. Even though all these people tried to assassinate his character, sorry for the pun, but he really did care about these people.
Yeah.
Even the ones who disagreed with him. And I will never understand why something like this ever happened. I am truly disappointed in this young man that he has shown no remorse for what he has done. And I'm torn because I feel like he should get the death penalty, and I'm going to be really upset if he takes a plea. But unfortunately, I think that's what's coming down the line.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I completely agree. Peggy, appreciate your call. Appreciate your kind words. I think that's actually a great way to end the segment. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757.
I've been in here, busy answering all these phone calls.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, did one of the callers was the one that really thought that something else was going on here.
Yeah, and by the way, the text line, I see all your texts sitting here. They are all debunking what that dude said.
Okay.
They are all tearing it to smithereens.
Did he have an idea of who he thought it was, or did he think that
No.
it's just that this is not believable and something else happened?
He said it is not, and there go the phones again.
I know.
He said it wasn't believable, and he was saying he was a Vietnam veteran, and he was saying all this other stuff. Now, I'm not calling into question his service or anything else, but there's a lot of people here calling him out. Emails. I got emails. I got texts. This is why I love a KVI Nation, because everybody here is weighing in with, no, this is exactly how it happened. It could do it this way. It could do it that way.
Because the reason I bring that up is the second we heard that this went down, before the footage was out there and all that stuff, when we knew there was that Charlie Kirk got shot, my first thought was it was someone exactly like who did it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. With Charlie Kirk, we all assumed, unfortunately, that it was going to be somebody from the trans movement, from the violent trans movement.
Or someone on the extreme left.
On the extreme left. That's what we all figured, right? This person fit that to a T. And do you remember in the days afterwards where they're like, no, it was somebody from the right, or it was the Israel thing, or whatever. This person fits the profile perfectly.
And to your point of them reaching out to him and saying, hey, you might want to rethink this and put this, this glass up or whatever it is, protection and all that stuff. Because a guy like Charlie Kirk, and I'm not saying good, bad, or otherwise, he liked to go on campuses and challenge people.
Yep.
And oftentimes the people that he is challenging look really stupid and get really embarrassed about how they were just kind of, he would, beat them so soundly in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
You do that enough times, and I'm not saying any way he deserved this or anything, but you're kind of playing with fire because you get one of these kooks. We know how it is.
Right. And there's no metal detectors walking onto that campus.
Yeah.
Look, the precautions I take when
Absolutely.
I go. Literally, we're talking about events that I go to this morning about what to do about this stuff.
Because there are topics that he talks about, that we talk about, that to some people who have broken brains, let's just be honest.
Yes.
That they think that is their duty to do something like that.
Especially when they're being told this person's a Nazi, this person's a white supremacist, this person's Hitler. What would you do in the 1930s and 40s?
And I've said this before. Me and Kirby used to talk about this. When someone goes and does something like this, their brain is broken.
Yes.
And trying to make sense of it, you don't even need to. The second someone will go this far, will take a human life on something like this, there's a problem inside their head.
Exactly. That's why I say the insanity defense, anybody who kills another human being, that you're insane. You're insane if you go ahead and do that and you disagree with Kevin. You and I disagree on politics all the time. Did I ever threaten to punch you in the face or anything like that?
Not even close.
Right?
I'd like to punch you sometimes.
Well,
but that's
everybody does. That's a universal thing, Kevin. Holy cow. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. More of your calls, more of your texts, plus also more Seattle insanity from Mayor Fivehead. We'll tell you what she's up to when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show during the final hour free-for-all on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I think we also triggered some of our callers with that last segment. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Before we go back to everybody's texts, everybody's calls, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Graham Plattner, the Oyster Gruppenführer, has dropped out of the Maine Senate race. Maine, M-A-I-N-E. He is done. He has suspended his campaign because of the amount of controversies. So now the Democrats get to supersede the democratic process and pick somebody. Oh, you look like a good, so they're Joe Bidening him. That's what's going on? Nah, I don't like this at all. You guys picked the Nazi sporting, allegedly raping Oyster Gruppenführer. You guys did this. You guys made your bed. You guys sleep in it with Graham Plattner, who wants to rape people, but not in a gay way if they break into his house. That's what he said. I have real issues with this. I really, really do. The people of Maine, the Democrats of Maine, chose him. And now they get to just pick somebody else? That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. So this is the new MO. This is the new MO. You know the only time you're going to see Democrats call this out? If there's a Republican who this happens with. Right? That's the only time you're ever going to see it. So what will happen is there'll be some Republican who's running for office, and his polling will go through the floor, and his fundraising, and some scandal will come about, and the Republicans are going to go, we're going to replace this guy, just like Joe Biden and Graham Platter. And the Democrats are going to go, how can you supersede? How can you overthrow somebody's Democratic vote? Give me a break. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Steve in Enumclaw. Steve, what's up, man?
Going to bring up well, I guess you call it a conspiracy theory that now there seems to be some good evidence out there that is microphone.
What was the evidence of the microphone? Because nobody found any explosive residue whatsoever. What evidence do you have to cite for this, Steve?
Just multiple articles and.
Well, no, Steve. What are the pieces of evidence you have? Because that's a Candace Owens conspiracy theory. So what is the actual article? If you find it, you can email it to me at arikvi.com, but so far I haven't actually seen any of these.
Okay, I'm driving home through Bonnie Lake, believe it or not, right now on the way home.
What's going on in Bonnie Lake today?
I don't know. It's kind of like, where are these people?
I think we should have a conference of everybody. We can get together and discuss conspiracy theories in Bonnie Lake. Steve, thanks for being a good sport. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Dan Smith, got to give credit to Dan Smith over on the text line. He sent me the text that the oyster farmer McGruff has dropped out of the race. He sent this, so I went to look it up during the commercial. Thank you, Dan Smith. Do appreciate that. Austin says, Ari, I've been in law enforcement for over 35 years. These people have zero credibility whatsoever. The ballistic characteristics of the rifle round is consistent with the damage done. If the shot was not dead on to the right and nicked the neck, it was exactly correct. No conspiracy, just facts. This one here, if you know anything about ballistics, bullets do tend to yaw and change directions in the human body. This explanation is totally plausible. It seems like everybody here is talking about this. See, here's one right here from the 425. In regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I quote the words of Sherlock Holmes when he said, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And trust what the ballistics experts say rather than somebody who reloads on his own, usually for specific hunting conditions, and likes to read Soldier of Fortune magazine. Yeah, see, there's a lot of callers who think they know what they're talking about with regards to this. I'm smart enough to know, okay, I shoot recreationally, and I don't know enough to talk about ballistics. But until you give me some actual evidence to prove to me Egyptian fighter planes or exploding microphones or this, that, and the other thing, so far I have not seen any evidence to show me it is anything but the official statement, what the medical examiner has said. I see absolutely nothing to back up any of the conspiracy theories. You are welcome to call and discuss them with me, but you better have some evidence to back it up. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including Seattle reverting very, very rapidly back to form. More of your calls, more of your texts. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just to give you a little peek behind the curtain, everybody, there is a saying amongst us journalist media types. If Mike Falk hasn't tried to fire you, you aren't doing a good job. And by that, I mean Mike Falk was Jay Inslee's spokesman for his entire 975 days of emergency powers. He got very cross with me when I found the documents that said that he ordered COVID-positive patients into nursing homes and started this whole mess before Cuomo even knew what COVID was. Well, now it seems that Mike Falk is working as a spokesman for our Attorney General, Nick Brown, and he's rather careless with what he says on internal communications because our next guest got a hold of them. Joining us now to discuss, investigative journalist for the Center Square. Also, somebody tried to have him fired. It is the one and only TJ Martinell. TJ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm glad to be back on. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So now you're officially a journalist. Congratulations. Welcome to the show. So tell us what you found.
Well, so I did a story back in April, which I'm assuming everyone in Washington State is aware of, about how the Attorney General's office was working with state legislators to get that millionaire's tax to really just legalize a progressive income tax. And after the story broke, a lot of media outlets, Cairo, Como, Fox 13, they reached out to them for comment. And he didn't have a whole lot of positive things to say about me when he was responding. He was saying that there was no story. And I think it was with when Jerry Cornfield reached out to ask for the same records I got, he just said, basically I was peddling misinformation, disinformation, that, we lack any professionalism or journalistic integrity or all this other kind of stuff. And I think the best way to put it is it's unnecessary, and bad-mouthing other media outlets to other media outlets is not exactly what taxpayers are paying them for.
Well, let's stop there for a second. Let me interrupt you for a minute here. So I'll make sure I got this right. This is when you revealed that they were conspiring with the Attorney General's office between the state Senate and a whole bunch of other people inside the Democrat Party, the governor, et cetera, to figure out how they could circumvent the Constitution and get the income tax across the finish line. So I don't understand why he had to go do that, because all he had to do was say, here's the documents. Instead, he injected his own commentary on you into these requests?
Yeah, and it's not, that's the thing. He's not issuing a statement on behalf of the organization, on behalf of the Attorney General's office. He's basically trying to discredit us without providing any factual information. And it was so bad that my own, our publisher for the Center Square issued a statement about this, because when we got the records, it's like, look, and also, by the way, we never got an email or any kind of communication from the Attorney General's office or the legislature, the governor, nobody. Nobody ever asked for a single retraction or correction to the story that we wrote or the other subsequent stories. So it's like you're saying disinformation. Well, and what's funny is he sent me when I tried to talk to him about, I'm like, I'm curious why you didn't think this was a story. He sent me a statement that made factual inaccuracies about the headline of the story, because it was implying, he said that that this was meant to impose income tax on everyone in Washington State. That's not what the headline said. The headline said that the purpose of the millionaire's tax is to legalize a progressive income tax, which is literally what Senator Pearson said in his email to the Attorney General's office. Like, we're just quoting them. There's that old journalistic saying, the worst thing you can do to your enemy is quote him accurately. Which is what we did. We literally just said, this is what's in the email. This is what they said on this day. And I think the reason that they got so upset is because they didn't think that we were ever going to get these records. And there was no, I think that this came completely at a sidewind where they weren't expecting it and didn't know how to respond. And what's so funny is that anybody who has, first of all, you're working for the state Attorney General's office. You look at the story, you read the emails that we've uploaded, and you send a response to everybody saying, this is attorney-client privilege communications, we can't comment. Instead, they comment on it.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And here's the other thing this shows me. It seems like he was running for cover to friendly outlets and saying to them, hey guys, those Center Square people, they're lunatics. They don't know what they're doing. Trust me, you're not going to find anything here. You're not going to find anything here. And that actually is the worst part of the story. Not that I don't love you and not that I don't think he shouldn't be bashing you and all that. But the fact that he thought he would get cover from those other media outlets by attempting to discredit you,
Right.
which is basically what he did to me when I found all those COVID documents. This is his MO.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is nobody, I mean, other than, I don't know if Jerry Cornfield with the Washington State Standard ran a story, but Cairo interviewed me, Fox 13 interviewed me. I think Como also. Like, and even if they didn't interview me directly, they did a story. Like Fox 13 did an interview with Jamie Pearson. And also Nick Brown was involved in editing and drafting the media statements to these other media outlets. If this is not a story, why does Nick Brown have nothing better to do with his time than to write a media response to a story that's not a story?
Well, let's be fair. He's got 800 attorneys working for him. I can't imagine there's enough work to go around. I mean, there's only so many Trump lawsuits. So I assume they're taking up most of the work, and he's just the figurehead at this point. In the last few minutes we have with TJ Martinell from the Center Square, just to give everybody a little clue how these works. Usually when you do a FOIA request or a public disclosure request, what happens is you get back this treasure trove of documents, and there's a lot of minutia, a lot of stupid in them, and it takes a lot of time to go through them. You don't normally get them with comment. You just get, here's the documents, here's this massive file. Have fun, happy hunting. That's basically it from a standard response that you get that was auto-generated. And these are coming with comments. It must mean he was really concerned if he decided to comment.
Well, and the thing is that when they're reaching out for a statement for him, he's providing commentary that, I mean, if I was working for some of those other media outlets, I would have asked him, just to clarify, are these comments above the statement included in the statement, or is that just you ranting about it? I mean, that's the problem. It's just he injects his own personal rants. You know, my whole thought is this is what a diary or a journal is for. Like, go put that or start a blog or something. But including them in official, and this is also a taxpayer position, right? They're supposed to provide public information to the public about the office and better inform people. It's not a place for you to personally rant about how you feel about a media outlet or a particular reporter or whoever, you know. And they keep calling. They say we're some right wing blog. Guys, we're not a blog. We're a freaking we're a newswire outlet. Like, I'm sorry, but we're all over the country. And the Wall Street Journal's editorial board issued an editorial in response to this story. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, saying it's not a story, it's like I think Jackson Maynard, one of the guys I interviewed, put it best when he said this was like the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where he keeps getting his limbs chopped off and says, "Oh, it's not a big deal. Nothing to see."
It's just a flesh wound.
It's just a flesh wound, or he's not dead yet.
Well, I'll tell you, TJ, if you're making this kind of trouble, you know what they say. If you're taking flack, you're over the target. Don't worry. We'll start a support group for people like you, me, and all the real journalists in town who've been wronged by Mike Falk, and just have a few shots, kick him back, and laugh at his job. TJ Martinell, investigative journalist for the Center Square. Don't let the man keep you down, my friend. You are doing an amazing, amazing job. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Ari.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And I'll tell you something, my friends. This story is bonkers. Young Zach came over to tell me about it. It comes to us from the Willamette Week, where a Portland teenager found that a $3 Lakers jacket he bought at Goodwill was actually worn by NBA star Wilt Chamberlain. And the jacket might be worth $250,000. I kid you not. The jacket is going to an auction Sotheby's. So back in January, Quentin Brown found a Wilt Chamberlain Los Angeles Lakers warm-up jacket in the Goodwill bins. It cost $3.07. He suspected it was the real deal, though, based on its worn appearance and some online photo sleuthing. Oh, so this is why Zach likes it so much. He does this kind of stuff. The stitch patterns seem to match the jacket the NBA star wore during the 1972 finals. He was right. I think Zach's got some audio for us from KGW.
I remember being in my room, and I looked at a different Wilt Chamberlain. It was a jersey, but I had measured the jacket, and obviously he was 7'1", so the sizing on it was very, very big. And the sizing matched up exactly to the jersey that I saw. And so that's kind of when I realized I think I have Wilt Chamberlain's jacket.
This is totally a Zach thing. This is so a Zach thing to happen. Like, oh, I'll buy this random costume from the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and I'll buy it for $100, and he sells it for whatever he sold it for.
By the way, this stuff is so hard to do now, to go to an actual thrift store and find something of value.
Oh, yeah.
They are so savvy about it.
Yes.
You can go to, I think it's shopgoodwill.com, and they sell a lot of stuff on there that's very expensive, and you're like, well, I guess I can't just happen upon an old TurboGrafx 16 at the old thrift shop anymore because they're selling it for $500 on their website.
I seem to recall a certain radio host and his producer who were getting these boxes of stuff for Netflix, and us saying, we'll just take it down to the half-price books and we'll sell it there. And a certain executive producer going, hey, you know what? Why don't I take that off your hands, right? And do it okay off it. I seem to remember that. So the gold and purple short sleeve jacket was professionally authenticated. It's going up for auction at Sotheby's, New York. It already went up. It's already listed right now. It is estimated that it will fetch between $150,000 to $250,000. Now, my question is how this thing actually end up at the Goodwill. Somebody cleaning out a house, didn't realize they had it. Was it donated? So another jacket worn during the 68-69 season sold in 2022 for $56,000. I don't know why they think this one is going to get more, probably because the stuff is becoming rare, and rarer. So they said his 1972 finals jersey recently sold for $4.9 million, the one he actually wore in the game itself. So, yeah, lucky kid. Spend it smartly. Don't spend it on college, but save it for a down payment for a house or something like that. I mean, really, kudos to you, kid. Just a reminder, coming up next, you have the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded. For those of you who may have missed an hour of content, you get to hear some of the best of stuff that we did today. It's all fresh content. You get to hear that coming up next, and then you got Mark Levin right after that. But that's going to about wrap it up for us today. Fear not, my friends. We will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more contests. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.